Okay, so this video is part 2 of the My Story, and I'm just going to let you know I'm going to wing it. I only have 2 notes, which are 2 verses, so I'm going to start with the first one, and that is Mark 2:17. It says, "On hearing this, Jesus said to them, 'It is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners.'" So I saw 2 things that God was like, hey, let's talk about this fun stuff. I'm using the word fun lightly. So my daughter was playing with some toys, and she named one of her toys Ruby, which is a nickname that I used to have when I was fresh out of high school. And oh, I just thought of something else. Okay, so when I was fresh out of high school, I graduated. I'm the class of '01, but I graduated the December of 2000 early, because in my junior year I spent a lot of time skipping school, so I was at risk of not graduating. So when my senior year came about, I didn't really take electives. I took back-to-back junior and senior classes, which ultimately let me graduate early. I kept seeing the word daisy, or seeing daisies, which this has 2 meanings, but for daisy in this video, I'm going to talk about how when I graduated, it was the heightened scene for going to raves, and that's what I did. And one of the raves that I went to was called the Electric Daisy Carnival. And what also triggered this message is, in like 3 or 4 of my videos that I've posted recently, there is someone, and I don't know if it's the same person every time, but every time I read it, it makes me laugh, because they say, what's wrong with your eyes? And them pupils though, or why do your eyes look like that? Because I can't tell you why, they just look like shiny in the camera. I don't know why they look shiny. But I know what they're implying is that maybe I'm high in my videos, or I'm on something. But it made me remember a story from when I was raising my first child. And when she was in high school, she came home, and I had to talk with her about peer pressure and drugs and things like that. And I remember, being who I am and not quite in my faith yet, I was like, let me tell you something. I just want you to know that there is not a pupil dilation that I won't know what you're on. I don't care what it is. I know how wide those pupils will get, or how tight those pupils will get. Try me. Because I have a drug history. I have a drug past. Before I get to that, God gave me a verse. I had recorded this once, and then God brought me to a verse, and so I'm like, oh, okay, I'll redo that video. It's Psalm 19:8, where it says, "The precepts of the Lord are right, giving joy to the heart. The commands of the Lord are radiant, giving light to the eyes." So whoever you are that always wonders why my eyes are shiny or why my pupils look like that, they're radiant from the Lord, because he saved me from this drug addiction that I had way back when. I'm 41. This happened when I was 17, going on 18, and I had my daughter by the time I was 19. So from the time I found out I was pregnant with her, I did not do those drugs. But what I'm telling you is, in that short amount of time, I did so much drugs that it felt like 5 years in that short amount of time. And I even dabbled in, if I bought drugs for my recreational use, if I had extra, I sold it to my friends who wanted it. Or, hey, I want to go party with you, how much is that? And I sold it to them. I look back, and I'm not proud of that, but I'm not ashamed of it either. Like, it made me who I am today. I had to go through these things to be where I am now, to find Christ. When I turned 40, he had brought a verse to me on my birthday, and it's in Deuteronomy, and it says, "I led you all these years in the wilderness, all these 40 years in the wilderness, to test your heart." And that was so significant to me, because I had just turned 40, and I had spent my whole life wandering and trying to fill the void in my heart with other things. And like the Electric Daisy Carnival, that was a huge rave party, and it was a carnival, like a carnival with carnival rides and stuff, while everybody was high on these drugs. And in that time, I chose to take pill related drugs, so ecstasy, acid, MDMA, things like that. And I wasn't what's the word, okay, I was reckless with the use. I wasn't out here testing the pills to make sure what I purchased was what I was told it was. I just took it. And you know, I can't come on here and give these messages and things like that and not expect to talk about how God saved me from my past. And although it was a long time ago, like I said, it was a lot of drug use. I talked about how I have ADHD, and I was prescribed Adderall, and I didn't like it. It was a low dose, and then over the years they increased it. I stopped, and then they put me back on it, and they increased it to where it was 60 milligrams twice a day, so 120 milligrams of Adderall a day. And because I know my past, I've always been scared of taking pills, because I was always scared that maybe I would get stuck into a habit of popping pills again. And that's when I was like, I don't want to take these. I got the verse about being sober in the Bible, and I'm like, I want a sober mind. I want to be who you created me to be. I want to use this brain that goes 100 miles a minute but lets me put together these crazy puzzle pieces. Like, that's who I want to be. That's what I love. And I don't want to be on these medications. And so that was my own decision to come off of medication for ADHD, partly because I had a fear of remembering the amount of pills I used to take when I was, you know, fresh out of high school. Now, one story I have, one testimony about this, I kept getting drawn to the word naked. Now, one day I had taken some drugs, and I was really sick, and I didn't go to church because my mom used to make me go to church. And so I was like, I'm sick, I'm not going. But I had no desire to go anyways. But my mom felt it in her spirit that something was wrong and she needed to come check on me. So she came over to my apartment, and there was all these people laid out on the floor because they had just partied too, and they were all wasted or recovering from the prior night. And they come to my room, and I could barely open my eyes. And my sister was like, you look like you're dying. And so they took me over to their house because my sister was still living with my parents. She's my older sister. And throughout that day, I also kept getting led to the word diarrhea. And it's gross that I'm sharing this, but it is what it is. When you're severely dehydrated, you're going to puke here and on the other end. And what an embarrassing thing to happen, right? A shameful thing to experience. But I was so sick, and I don't know how I was able to even make it the amount of time I did while I was at home. So I was in the shower, and I locked the door because I was dumb. I locked the door behind me, even though I kept passing out ridiculous amounts of the day. And my sister heard me make a crashing sound in the shower. And so they had to break down the door to pull me out of the bathroom. And there was my dad and my sister and my mom just seeing me, 18 years old or 17 and a half, however old I was, just buck naked with my eyes rolled back in my head. They had to dress me. They had to take me to the ER. My dad had to go to work because he worked nights and he couldn't afford to not go to work. So my sister and my mom drove me to the ER, and it was a 30-minute drive. And when I got there, there's no reason why I should have gone ahead of anybody else. Zero reason. That place was so packed. You think ERs are packed now, but back then there weren't these little urgent care clinics. There weren't like separate little emergency rooms that you could go to. It was these two hospitals. I had two choices, and that one was standing room only. There's people with wraps on their arms with blood on it. There's people who probably had been there for a while, but God had me pass out in front of everybody in there, and the nurses had to rush me to the back. Had that not happened, I probably would not be alive today to talk about this testimony and how, even though I was not even seeking God at that time, he was there to protect me. He was there to save me. He was there to get me to the head of the line, to show me favor when I didn't deserve it. And because I think I was 18 at that time. Because I was 18, they didn't have to disclose things to my parents. But my sister was there with me when they said, and I said it was fine to say it in front of her. Whatever I had taken was laced with heroin. It was so much. I would say if you were going to ratio the MDMA versus the heroin, it was probably 95% heroin in a pill form and 5% MDMA. And I almost lost my life at that time. And did I learn my lesson? No. I think the next weekend I went out and did it again. I went out and took pills and did that again. And so all I can say to that testimony is, 1, I was stupid and reckless. 2, when you think God's not there for you, he's there for you. When you can think of a time that you should not have survived something, or how you got to the front of the line like I did, God was there for you at that time. So as an adult now in my 40s, I can look back at all the times in my life when I was not even acknowledging Christ in my life at all, where he was there to take care of me. He was there to let me take refuge in his wings, so that I could be here today to give this testimony, to tell you that no matter what it is you're facing, no matter if you're a Christian now and you still have a sin that you're trying to overcome, he is not going to leave you. Because back then I would not even call myself a Christian. I was just a girl who wanted to fit in, and I was trying to fit in and fill the void in my heart with so many wrong things. So always find the light. Always give glory to God when he gives you a testimony. No matter what it is, it's a testimony for somebody. And whoever's on here who's always wondering why my eyes are shiny, it's because now in that verse, Psalm 19:8, the commands of the Lord are radiant, giving light to the eyes. So my eyes are shining because I'm shining my little light for the Lord. So always find the light, guys. Bye.